Hi everybody, I'm Jack and this is Raw Tropical Living. Thanks for joining me again today. Today this video is going to be a little bit about, not so much a retelling of my story, which I've done before, but just kind of a little bit on my thinking and what I've done, what I've been through, and how I've come to this particular point in my path, how I feel about this particular point in my path, and how I will see things possibly evolve in the future. The thinking started for this because, you know, if you've watched me for a little while, you know, I go back to the States every 3 months to visit my mom. I have to get out of the country for my visa, but also my mother's getting older, so I need to go back. So I tend to measure things in 3-month spans, and a lot of times, you know, I'll try something different because I'm like, okay, I just got back, so I'll try this for 3 months, and I'm, you know, always trying to just tweak things and get a little better, get a little bit more knowledgeable, always be learning. One of the things I really don't ever want to get caught up in, and I've tried to avoid that from the beginning, is getting attached to a dogma. This is what works for me right now, but I'm always researching, always educating myself, and I don't want to ever hold on to anything blindly. You know, just because I don't know, it's attachment. It's another form of attachment, you know, getting attached to a lifestyle or having so much invested in a lifestyle. I always want to kind of try to seek the truth. And, you know, if that ever becomes doing something different than I'm doing now, I'll do it. Because, you know, I am a raw vegan, and I will be a vegan, but you know, we're always going to have to see on the how much raw, how much, I'm not eating this particular thing right now, maybe I will in the future. I'm in a fairly happy place right now. Just to recap a little bit, some of the stages I've been through, I think I told you I transitioned when I first kind of started taking care of my health. Very long transition because I didn't know I was actually transitioning. At the time, I just called it cleaning up my diet. And as I got into the raw vegan thing about, 6 or 7 months, about 6 months into working on my health and trying to take care of some of the damage that I'd done in my past, I did find the raw vegan lifestyle. Well, okay, I first got into it and I jumped into it feet first. I went high raw right off the bat because let's talk about the cooked thing for a minute, and the cooked thing from my perspective. As I always say on here, I don't judge anybody else. If you're eating cooked, God bless you. One big reason I don't eat cooked and I don't eat this, and I don't get into this whole controversy of what do they call it, grain brain, or I don't get on the whole grains versus non-grains argument thing. I don't eat rice. I had quit eating rice before I became raw vegan. I just don't really care for it. It does nothing for me. Pasta, I don't like pasta. Yeah, pasta it's not going to make me sick, but I definitely don't like the feel of pasta. For my starches, and when I go back to the States, I'll eat some. I eat potatoes. So when I do eat cooked food, it tends to be potatoes and steamed vegetables, really. I always do have my one meal of peas, and that's about the only legumes. I don't know if peas are legumes, of course. That's about the only time I'll have those 2 or 3 times a year, because I'll make me a big pot of black-eyed peas or purple hull peas or something like that. Anyhow, rambling a little bit, getting off the story. I don't eat a lot of the cooked foods just because I don't care for them. I don't care for rice. I don't care for pasta. The potatoes, I don't cook here in Costa Rica anymore. Basically, for about the last 9 months, or 3 of my trips, you know, 3 trips worth since I go back every 3 months, I don't eat cooked food here in Costa Rica. I eat my cooked in the States. Now, even with the potatoes, I just tend to overeat on the potatoes, so that's a big reason I limit those. I'm not even really striving to, you know, when I go to the States this next time, and that's something else, I always try to figure something to work on or something to delve into when I go to the States, maybe a little change, a little tweak. That's the time to go into the laboratory and do all that. So I still haven't figured that out, but I do know that I want to eat each time I go to the States a little bit cleaner. You know, I told you a while back I gave up oil. May eat oil a couple of times in the States, but I want to eat as clean as possible, even though I will be eating some cooked food. But anyhow, okay, go back through the beginning, the stages I've gone through. I go raw vegan. And I think I've told you this before too. I had no clue what I was doing. And I was still in that mentality of how we've all normally tried to lose weight. You eat less. You eat less, you lose weight, right? Well, I wasn't restricting calories. Okay, sometimes I split hairs over semantics. I wasn't restricting calories because to me, restricting implies intent. Like I was making a conscious intent. Well, I wasn't making a conscious intent, but I was eating way too few calories. And even though I know a lot of you out there, I always love that word, the woo-woo stuff, the spiritual stuff, I did start getting lightheaded. Now, I do believe in the spiritual connection. I've gotten a very different spiritual connection in my life since I've been raw vegan, but I also too I'm kind of skeptical, or not skeptical, but I just kind of like shun that side that's all the time. But I can also see too, a lot of it's being, is not eating enough. Now I do know that my consciousness changed, but I do know that a lot of it in the beginning was just simply blood sugar, not enough calories, because I mean, I think I've told you this before, but I literally got to a point there for a while to where almost every time I'd stand up, I had to do kind of like this little pause to hold myself because I was getting dizzy every time I stood up. And consequently, after about not very far into the raw vegan lifestyle, because I had already lost most of the weight I needed to lose. I could have actually started raw vegan and just maintained right there and just learned the diet, but I kept going. And my stomach kept shrinking. I kept eating less and less, although I was never hungry. I never sat around and said, oh, I'm not going to eat this. I ate anytime I wanted, but my stomach was shrinking just because of the way I was doing it. And I was getting all this very emotional. You know, in the beginning, I'm like, oh my God, is this going to make me so emotional all the time? And just came to find out that I was just barely, you know, kind of starving myself. And as I've told you too, I get home the first time, and this is very short, like if I started doing raw vegan in June, I went back to the States at the end of September and hop on the scale and look in the mirror and I look like a concentration camp victim. I'm 143 pounds at 6'2". Okay, so then I figured, then I start panicking because I'm almost like, you know, number one, I don't know that much about the lifestyle, and number two, I'm just this emaciated figure at 143, you know. So now I'm like, okay, well, as long as I stay vegan, I can just get back, just start eating. Just eat, put weight on. I started eating massive amounts of potatoes with just drowning in olive oil because it was about calories. At the time, I really wasn't educated at all on the low-fat raw vegan lifestyle. Now, I always stayed away. I always had a suspicion, and I was starting to I think I had a leaning towards the low fat from the beginning because I'll be quite honest with you, I got a suspicion about all this gourmet stuff because, you know, when you first get into the raw world and the raw vegan world, you start seeing all these images and all these photos, and even today if I go online and if I Google something dealing with raw food, half the time it's some some dessert, this high-fat dessert that pops up. So I had a suspicion of the gourmet stuff from the beginning, and I said, well, I'm not going to get too caught up in that. You know, I can see maybe a few of the things like the vegan lasagna, the raw vegan lasagnas. You know, those look good for a treat every once in a while, but yeah, I kind of knew the gourmet thing wasn't the way to go. That was just maybe one step above eating just a healthy diet. I mean, I guess it's a few steps above the standard American diet, but it's just not that healthy of a diet, too much fat. Anyway, but I went through that stage so I could put some weight back on, and I did. You know, I put that right back on. I put it just in that one visit, I probably put 7 or 8 pounds on. And I slowly kind of, you know, kept building myself up, but doing it that way, eating so much oil, eating so much fat, I would put some weight back on, and I did look a little better. My face filled out. I didn't look like a skeleton anymore, but I got soft in the middle because a lot of that, it was just too rapid. It was too much fat, and it was too fast. Too fast, too rapid. Well, that's repetitive. So, I tightened up on the fat. There was a period there where I slowly, and I'd come back, after the trips, I'd come back to Costa Rica. And even in Costa Rica at that time, I'm eating less cooked food. I'm cooking my potatoes maybe once or twice a week. I'm starting to, I can't remember my chronology. I can't remember when I really started. Well, I did start up in the bananas. I hadn't started even reading anything about 80-10-10 or paying much attention to the 80-10-10 people, but I did start realizing, like, okay, you got to get lots of calories in, and that's when I devoted my heart to the cult of banana. I started eating bananas like crazy, and I'm still going to this day. I've had a lot of times there I knew, and bananas are easy to keep count of. It's more, I never know with the watery fruits, like, well, maybe this one is that, but more or less, I kind of roughly guesstimate 100 calories in a banana, so I know if I get a good base of 15 bananas in a day, I got a good 1,500 calories in the bank right there. So other stuff on top, that I'm eating pulls me up to where I need to be. So I keep going down my path, and I'm always tweaking this and that, and I'm thinking, I'm not high fat, and for the longest time before I had lost all that weight, I had actually was not using just very tiny amounts of olive oil. So about the start of this past year, I started reading into the fats and the oils a lot more, really about the oil. So I pretty much put down the oil back in January. As you know, 3 months ago, I told you I was going to start working on the low-fat raw vegan. Well, I was not high-fat before. I would say the equivalent of my fat, I never had more than 1 avocado in a day. But when you work that out and percentage-wise, I wasn't eating enough calories to eat 1 avocado every day over the course of a week, because I shoot for 3,000 calories, but I just don't tend to get there, and I'm not going to cram food in my mouth. I just get to these points, I eat, and I'm not going to make it painful. I'm not going to stick more into my mouth. So, through this last 6 months or so, I know I'm jumping around a little here because I don't even remember my own chronology sometimes, because it's always like, I'm trying to change something on the go, just to make an adjustment, just to do this and that. So I don't always remember exactly when I did it, but early part of this year, January, gave up the oil pretty much. There have just been like, I can count the occasions on a couple of hands over this whole year. So 3 months ago, I lowered the fat, go below the 10% mark. And I had picked up that salt habit again, so I've put down the salt shaker. Now, the one thing that I'm going through now, we'll fast forward to today, is that it's just still always that struggle, people. It's always that struggle, and I'm going to ask for some help from the people out there. I noticed that, and I was thinking this like last week, I got busy, or actually it was 2 weeks ago I got busy. I think I might have mentioned it in some videos. I got busy, but when I get busy, I tend to not eat enough. And I started noticing it, and I'm even noticing, let's see, I'm not going to move the camera around, but I've definitely tightened up in the stomach. In fact, you know what, I'm an older guy, I'm 50. I do have a little bit of loose skin there, but I have tightened up. But I knew I had dropped some weight again too. And lo and behold, I go to the drugstore pharmacy yesterday, because they've got this little digital scale that tells you your height, your BMI, all this kind of stuff. So I put a coin in, and I've dropped weight again because I just wasn't on top of it. So that's just something I always have to pay attention to. But then again, it's a license to eat. I really would like, and I hear all the time, all I see is videos about people doing the raw vegan lifestyle that aren't losing weight or that are gaining weight. Tell me how, because I need to keep the weight on. Now I have realized, like, I may settle at this. That scale, I don't know how accurate it is, so I'm not looking at that number per se. I'm looking at that number compared to what it was when I've weighed there before, because I've used that scale before. So the number itself doesn't really faze me that much. It's just the fact that it's gone down. Now, I would guess right now I am in the low 150s, maybe 155. And it's just a fight. I mean, I was shooting for keeping around 160, but I'm tight at this. I mean, I'm fairly tight at this weight, except for, like I say, a little loose skin here. But I'm not carrying an alligator purse on my stomach, so I'm not going to complain too much at 50. I've told you before, this isn't so much a vanity thing or a being buff thing, that it's a health journey for me. Because I've fought that thing. I mean, we all do. Ego is one of the factors that holds us back the most in life. I mean, I still even get at it at times. I'll look in the mirror or something, and I'll see this skinny old man that used to hit the gym all the time. And listen, and you might call me out, but I'm not talking shit here. If that's what I wanted to do, I could go back to the gym tomorrow, compromise a little on my health beliefs, and I could buff up pretty good in the next 6 months. Now, I'm not sitting here telling you I'm going to become vegan bodybuilder, huge, all swole up, but I can show you some pictures. I've shared a few before pictures of the fat before. I've shared some where I was pretty buff, and I know what I'm doing in the gym. I'm not going to ever get to be, like when I say I know what I'm doing to a certain degree to get to, I could get pretty swole up. But that's just not what I'm really into, I want to feel good. I want to be able to move. I want to have functional fitness. And I want to just keep improving my health. And keep, who knows, am I out of the woods yet of all the bad living that I did earlier in my life. That liver still worries me all the time, 30 years of boozing. But that's where I'm at right now, low-fat, raw vegan. Now, going from what I would call maybe medium-fat to raw vegan, I mean, before it wasn't high-fat. Maybe the fat percentage was in the low teens. Now I'm pretty sure it's below 10%. No, I know it's below 10%. I like it. It's working for me. I feel good right now. Which actually, I've got some more thinking to do. I'm not quite sure what tweak I'm going to do in 2 weeks when I go to the States, and what I'm going to work on there, or try to do something different. Or maybe it's just a matter of focusing on, what's the word I'm looking for? Not necessarily focusing on changing what I'm eating, but just changing my habits a little bit more, and like being a little bit more prepared. I preach to people that are starting this lifestyle to be prepared, but I don't necessarily follow that all the time. I'm not a very organized person. And I think I would get more of those calories in each day, and I think I would fall short of my goals less if I did a little bit more prep work. Like I got time on the weekends. The weekends can be the big prep thing, just kind of get a little bit more of it done. But then each day, like if I come home from work today, I bring stuff from the market, and all it takes is a little prep in the evening, and then I'm not caught short. But anyhow, one message that I would like for you to take away from this is, I'm not saying, hey, this is it, this is the pinnacle, you want to become low-fat, raw vegan. But what I would say is very important is keep your mind open, keep learning, keep listening to your body, and keep trying different things. And don't become attached to a lifestyle. Don't become attached to a dogma. Don't become attached to a public figure, a raw food celebrity, a vegan celebrity, and follow. If even though you like the person, you can still like the person without doing exactly what they do 100%, but you have to listen to it. You can't let other people decide what is right for you and what's going to work for you. But you also don't want to fool yourself. You don't want to fool yourself into saying, well, I'm living this lifestyle because it's the best, when you're living a certain lifestyle because another lifestyle you think is too hard, or you have to put some effort to get there, to weed some of the bad things out of your life. But anyhow, I'm very happy where my path has brought me so far, but I always try to be humble in it. Like I was just thinking last night as I was thinking about some of these things, I'm like, you know what? This is what I know. But I'm in the 3rd grade, people. I'm in the 3rd grade. I'm just into my 3rd, I just started my 3rd year of being raw vegan back in June. So, take it with a grain of salt, because what does a 3rd grader know, really? I got a long way to go, a lot of learning to do, a lot of growing up to do, and I hope to keep sharing that journey along the way. But I will tell you this. The raw vegan lifestyle, the vegan lifestyle, getting more whole plant-based foods into your diet is something we can all agree on. And if you would just concentrate on doing that every day and just cutting some of this garbage out, it's not a hard process. To be honest, everybody, like probably one person could make one video on YouTube and it would suffice. But people kind of are always searching for that trick or whatever. There are no tricks. There are no shortcuts. It's all about just finding your path, taking that first step. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. And just keep putting one foot in front of the other as you go down your path. Have an open mind, have an open heart. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up. Hope you'll share it with your friends, and hope you'll subscribe to the channel. And have a great week. Peace.